Sometimes, time stops for a reason. But when it starts again, it brings back the one you thought you'd lost forever. This is the story of the clock that stopped at midnight.
The old house stood at the end of Maple Street. Its walls were tired, its windows dusty, and yet, inside that silence, one sound still lived: the tick-tock of an antique clock. It had belonged to Mrs. Eleanor Hart, a kind old woman who lived alone since her husband passed away 10 years ago. Every night she'd sit by the fireplace watching the golden hands of the clock move. That clock was more than time, it was memory. Because it had stopped once before, the night her husband died. But strangely, one day, after years of silence, it started ticking again, and no one knew why.
Eleanor couldn't believe it. She leaned closer, her wrinkled hands trembling. The clock's pendulum swayed slowly, and behind its glass door something glimmered, a small folded piece of paper wedged inside. Her heart raced. She carefully opened the glass and took the note out. It was yellowed, fragile, written in her husband's handwriting. It read, "If this clock ever starts again, it means I've kept my promise, that I'll find a way to come back to you." Tears fell onto the old paper. The hands of the clock ticked louder, as if his heart was beating again through time.
That night, the clock struck midnight for the first time in a decade. Dong! 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 Eleanor woke up to the sound, her heart pounding. As she looked toward the hallway, she saw a faint light glowing under the door. She opened it slowly, and in the living room, a figure sat on the chair beside the clock. It was blurry, made of light, but she recognized that posture, that calm smile. "Henry," she whispered. The figure looked up. "You kept the clock, Ellie." Her tears fell like rain. She reached out her hand, but he was light, warm, but untouchable. "Don't cry," he said softly. "You never really lost me."
Eleanor sat across from him, the light of his presence flickering like a candle flame. "How are you here?" she whispered. Henry smiled. "Love travels through time, Ellie. Every heartbeat, every tear leaves a mark on the clock of our lives." He looked at the clock and continued, "When you stopped crying, it started again." Eleanor realized then the clock was never broken. It had simply waited for her to heal.
Days passed, and every midnight, Henry appeared again for exactly 1 minute. They talked about everything: old summers, forgotten dreams, the garden she never finished. He laughed the same way he used to. And every time he disappeared, the clock stopped until the next midnight. It was as if time itself waited for their love. One night, Eleanor asked, "Will you ever stay?" Henry smiled. "When your time stops, Ellie, mine will start again." The winter wind howled outside. Eleanor felt weaker than ever. She sat beside the clock, waiting. When it struck midnight, Henry appeared again, but this time his light was softer, almost fading. "It's time, isn't it?" she whispered. He nodded gently. "Don't be afraid. We've both waited long enough." Eleanor smiled weakly. "I'm not afraid. I've been waiting for this minute all my life." The clock ticked louder, faster,
then suddenly stopped.
The next morning, a neighbor knocked. No answer. She found Eleanor in her chair, peaceful, smiling. The clock beside her frozen at 12:01. But something strange, both the clock hands glowed faintly in the sunlight, and inside the glass, two reflections sat side by side, laughing together. Years later, a new family moved into the house. They found the same clock on the wall, dusty but beautiful. That night, the little daughter asked her mom, "Why does it tick only at midnight?" Her mother smiled softly. "Maybe it's telling a love story." At midnight, the clock ticked once, and in the faint reflection, two shadows danced together in golden light. Love never stops. It just keeps ticking, even after time stands still.